Broker Bulletin acknowledges the traditional custodians of all the lands across the country on which we record our podcast and pays its respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Welcome to the Broker Bulletin podcast, where better begins. Join us as we chat with brokers about what's working for them, what drives them, and the real challenges and wins that matter most right now.
Hi everyone, welcome back to a brand new episode of Broker Bulletin. I'm Jordan Mutton, Head of Partnerships at the Asset Finance at LMG and General Manager of the Asset Finance Exchange. Today we're diving into a hot topic. How can brokers beat car dealerships, especially at their own game in the finance space? We know dealerships are often the first place customers hear about the finance. They've got the cars, so it's definitely something we need to be across. But brokers have the tools, the knowledge, the networks to deliver far better outcomes than just what a dealer can. So how do we get that message across? How do we win the client conversation and ultimately secure the deal and look after the customer? To unpack this today, I'm joined by Simon Reid, Director of Automotive. Simon helps clients source the best car deals while keeping them out of the dealerships and ensuring the finance conversion stays with the broker and the customer has that best experience. Today, we'll explore how this model works and the value it creates for the clients and opportunity it unlocks for brokers. So thanks for joining me today, Simon. Welcome aboard.
Thanks for having me.
Let's start off, give us a bit of intro, a little bit about yourself, your vast experience in the industry. I wasn't going to give away your age or anything like that, but you have been in the industry for decades, mate. So how does Automotive work and how did it come about?
I've spent a long time in the industry, as you said, learned some wonderful things about it and obviously some customer pain points throughout the purchase journey, and decided to develop a model to help customers have an awesome experience buying a car. When you're spending that much money, you should. So we created Automotive, which is to help brokers' customers to avoid the hassle and the haggle and the horrible stuff of the sales process. And there are some wonderful salespeople out there, but there are some that don't give the best experience, and we want to make sure customers have that great experience every single time.
Definitely, and it's a good call out. Like the asset space of 15 plus years, and dealers are always that pain point we kind of ran into. And from an experience or customer experience point of view, you get so excited that you get approval, and then you can go looking for the car, and then you dealt with and not say, as I said, not all salesmen fall into this part, but from a car sales perspective, everyone, you know that you're going to have that haggle, that sort of stuff. It can take the fun out of it, whereas obviously your service is that wonderful experience, which we've seen, which is good. So how do you combat the car dealer? Like, what's the process do you have, or how does that work?
It's an interesting thing because we've got wonderful dealerships all around Australia that we're very, very happy looking after our clients. And so we're trying to steer people to people that are going to give us a great price. That's very, very important. But also make sure that we're giving our customers to people that are going to provide a great experience. We know that they're going to get well looked after. So we use our network to ensure that we do that. Test drive with a dealer that we trust and that is going to look after them well. If it's a used vehicle, it's harder to instigate a test drive with someone you trust because you don't know who's got the car. So we use data scraping technology to locate the vehicle quickly, and then we will call and vet that salesperson and also that vehicle before the customer engages with them. Many, many times, the first time the customer meets a salesperson is actually when they pick their car up. Because we have a very thorough process around identifying the quality of the car, if it's used. And if it's a new car, quite often customers have already experienced it. Their friend's got one or they've driven one, or it might be their third or fourth time with us. So it's really just around getting a great price. With the used cars, we get photos of every single scratch and whether or not it's been a mine vehicle, if it's a commercial vehicle, for example, and make sure that we mitigate as much risk as possible to stop customers going from yard to yard to yard, walking in to find the cheapest one, which is normally the one that you've got to be worried about. It's a thorough process to make sure that we mitigate risk.
You mentioned in there this scraping technology that you have. Can you explain how that works and how that benefits the customer?
Absolutely. With a used car, you most traditionally would go on carsales.com. Not every car is on there. In fact, it's quite an expensive website for dealers to use because it's got the market. So a lot of the smaller dealers will use other platforms like Gumtree and Auto Trader, Drive.com, and there's quite a few of them. And they're obviously competing with car sales, but it's quite expensive to have your car on all platforms because you've got to pay for them, of course. If a client only looks on one platform, they're only going to find the cars that are on there. They may not necessarily find it easy to identify the cheapest car because of the way the platforms work. You can promote your cars, even if they are not the cheapest, to be higher up on the ladder. And so therefore, the scraping technology we use identifies them and ranks them by price and kilometres. It also will find a car on any platform that dealers advertise their cars on. It will put them all into one spreadsheet, and we can send that to the customer and go, right, here's every car fitting the parameters that you've set. We can see very, very clearly that this is the cheapest one. Now we've got to find out, why is it the cheapest one? How do we make sure that it's not the cheapest because it's got a poor history or because there's issues with the car? With new cars, it also scrapes dealer websites. So, for example, if you are a manufacturer that says you can't advertise new vehicles online, outfits on those platforms, it's only allowed to be at the retail price. We can find them by the system scraping the website and quickly locate that there is one of those cars at this particular dealership, especially with hard-to-get cars like the hybrids and other variants. So it really saves a whole heap of time for the customer ringing around from yard to yard or visiting website after website, and allows them to get on with their life and do what they've got to do each day and let us take care of that for them.
Yeah, it sounds like great technology. Obviously, I've seen it in how you've used it and the benefit. Sometimes you look on, I can't see anything on car sales because that's my default, right? You go to car sales, it's what people know. Oh, there's nothing out there, and I call you and like, oh, actually there's 4 here. I'm like, all right, I've missed something here. So that's fantastic. I've been in the asset space for the best part of 15 years, and dealers it's always the hardest competitor, right? They've got the asset there. Like, you have to go through a dealer. So from your perspective, and obviously you've worked in dealerships for a long time and now with doing your own thing with the sourcing part, why do dealerships capture so much? What makes them so effective when a customer walks in there?
There's a large emotional component to buying a car. It's a big decision. The test drive of the car is the key. When a customer test drives a car and they love it, they feel highly emotional. And if the salesperson has everything in place before the test drive, so that the moment the customer gets out of the car, it's like, let's talk about the final price. It's very easy just to say yes because you're feeling highly emotional. And especially if the whole family's there and everyone's saying, I love it, let's buy it, mummy or daddy buy the car. There's a pressure to buy it internally because you love it. And then obviously salespeople are very skilled at negotiation and enticement. Maybe they'll present a special offer that's available for you to make a decision now. And customers don't negotiate every day. They're not experts at it, and salespeople are. So it helps them to, woo the customer into making a decision on the spot.
Online, on TV, we see dealers and manufacturer rates where they go, hey, if you're buying a brand new vehicle, so we want to chuck some brands in here, but 1.99% rate or 0% finance. Like, is that a real thing? We know the Reserve Bank rates are a lot higher than that. So how can they offer a rate? Like, are they taking a loss on that, or how does that work?
So it obviously varies every time, and we can't answer factually about whether or not it's genuine or not. What we do need to be very cautious of is the fees, the terms. You may not be able to put deposits in. You may not be able to have trade-ins. There might be additional conditions or costs associated with it. And we also need to make sure that the car is being sold at the best price. We may find that a month earlier or a month later, that car was on offer significantly cheaper. And at the moment, the saving is around a rate, but it's not around the price. So if we find out a car was $4,000 less a month earlier, then perhaps that finance offer is not as attractive to the client. You get nothing for nothing in this world. If it seems too good to be true, it probably is. So we've got to really look into that and not just get caught up in the advertised figure. We've got to really look carefully at what's involved around it. There was an example I had with a broker yesterday where by the time the fees were factored in, even just small account keeping fees, it actually turned out to be significantly higher by comparison rate over the term of the loan, and the client wasn't saving any money.
I swear to God, there's always a sale going. There's a new financial year sale. There's an end of run out sale. There's a Christmas sale. There's a Halloween sale. There's hey, it's a Friday, let's have a sale. Like, I swear to God, there's always a sale on at some point. Like, is that a dealer thing? Is from a manufacturer's point of view, is probably what I'm trying to get at. Do they have an input on sales, or is it the franchise dealer that has the control of the sale, or how does that work? Because I swear to God, every time I'm on there, there's some sort of sale, right?
Absolutely. And look, it's broader than just car dealerships, isn't it? I'm a compulsive shopper myself, and I know the Boxing Day sales here in Melbourne are massive. because I'm online looking all the time, I quite often get on there and go, hold on, it was so much cheaper previously. But there's this perception that Boxing Day is the big day and everyone gets out there. And in the car industry, it's the end of financial year clearance. And then it's the old stock clearance in January of each year. And if a customer has a perception around that, then you're certainly going to jump on board and advertise it. I think the smarter manufacturers are always on sale and always advertising. It's case by case. If there's an overstock situation where a manufacturer gets excited and brings too many units to the country, then there may be some real genuine sales going on because they have to clear that stock. What I find interesting is when there's a big sale and there's very little stock, it makes me question whether or not it's just an advertising campaign or not, especially if you can't get cars. Why would you go and heavily discount vehicles when you can't get them? It just doesn't make sense when you can only sell a car once. So the genuine sales are, in my opinion, geared towards, an overstock situation where they've got to clear cars and they've got to clear them quickly.
From a broker's point of view, whether they're an asset specialist or a residential broker or whatever, what's the biggest advantage of partnering with a car sourcing agent like you from a broker's perspective?
From my point of view, if I'm involved with the client or my team's involved with the client as early as possible, even after that first phone call, the clients absolutely love the experience. It's so comforting to have someone in your corner, because if you ask most people, it can be daunting trying to buy a car or to deal with salespeople. So if we help customers avoid that and take all of the stuff that they don't love out of it, it's a very comforting experience. You really add value to your brand as a broker. You're providing a greater service and a total solution for the client, which I think, as I said, adds value to what you're offering. The customers love it. We make sure they're getting a great deal. We make sure that they're not paying too much for something, which obviously can impact their future ability to buy another vehicle. And we also really, if you think about it, we're managing the pipe for the broker. So the broker has us working with their client while they're continuing on doing what they do from day to day. They don't have to call every couple of days saying, have you found it yet? Have you found it yet? Which starts to sound a little bit salesy from a broker's perspective. So sort of managing the pipe for them. And when they go away on holidays, we're still working with the clients. The moment we sell the vehicle, and obviously there are updates that occur through automation as we take the customer through the journey. So the broker's across what's happening with the client. But when we sell the vehicle, the dealership is provided the email address, the phone number instantly to the broker, even before the contract is created. So the broker can get on the front foot and be requesting that invoice straight away. If the invoice is difficult to get, on the phone to me, I'm chasing the dealership going, where is that invoice? Send it through. It was subject to approval through that brokerage. Please make sure that you follow that through as we've agreed when doing the deal.
With customers, obviously, and from my experience in dealing with, they know they're after a car, but they may not have a specific car. From that piece, like when they've got a pre-approval for finance and they go shopping car, I'm not sure what car exactly I'm after. Do you assist them with that, or how often does that happen? Does everyone come to you with a car in mind, or no, this is the exact car, or do you educate them or help them through that purchase?
It's case by case. It's all of the above. And, there are, from memory, I think there's more than 70 manufacturers selling cars in Australia now. That is so much choice. And when Toyota take 20% of the market, 80% are made up by 69 manufacturers or more. Choice breeds confusion, and there's a lot of new cars on the market that customers have, maybe just heard of, or they're new to the market or don't even know. So it's a really daunting thing. I cannot keep up myself. We're always focused on making sure that a good residual outcome. We want to make sure that they're getting a strong resale value because we want them to be able to update that car and get their next line comfortably, not be in a huge negative equity position. It's not a perfect science, but we're really thoroughly checking which cars hold their value really well. And we're obviously cautious around ones that are unproven in that area. Or, for example, from a servicing perspective, the big manufacturers have got really strong service networks. Their costs are really transparent. Parts are easy to get, so the vehicles aren't off the road waiting for parts to come. We factor all that in. That is their choice. And we certainly don't want to interrupt that wonderful emotional experience for them by telling them they shouldn't buy something unless they're saying, is this a good choice? What I find really interesting is a lot of customers ask me whether or not vehicles have strong residual values and are fuel efficient, and they're buying something worth $180,000. And sometimes you just go say, hold on, are you really that focused on that when you're spending $180,000 on a car? They go, no, actually, I just want one. So we're really cautious around making sure we don't take the emotion out of the customer's journey. But if we feel like someone's making a poor choice, for example, if they've got a very low budget and they're looking at an older car that has really high costs associated with servicing, maybe something in the prestige market where things just cost more to repair and whatnot, and they're on a tight budget, we'll certainly have chats with them around the fact that, are you aware that you may pay quite a bit of money for a major service on these cars, to make sure that we're not putting them in the wrong position.
For brokers that aren't involved in vehicle sourcing or just send their customer out into the wild to fend for themselves, what's your advice on getting started with that?
It's a very simple conversation. We have a referral form that the broker just saves to their desktop and clicks submit. It's literally just having a conversation with the client saying, as part of what we do, we have a resource available to you to help you, guide you through the process. If you've already had pricing, they'll confirm whether or not it's good pricing. If you haven't and you want help with that, they'll do all the shopping for you. They'll help sort out your trade-in, what that's worth, make sure that they give you a guide if you want to sell it privately as to what you can get as well, and take every single stress out of the process for you. And we call them, that's what we do. It's really, really simple. It's just getting started.
From a broker perspective, is there a fee you charge to handle that service, or how does that work?
We're really, really keen on making sure that the costs around this are extremely small. We don't pay commissions to brokers, nor do we receive commissions from brokers. There's no money exchanged at all. There's no cost to the client. There's no cost to the broker. We will charge the dealership a very small fee for instigating the sale to them. And quite often we don't even get that. Especially if it's a fixed price vehicle or it's a large used car operation that does not offer discounts at all. But we'll always do the right thing if it's the right car and just get the deal done. The last thing we ever want is to be trying to charge silly fees or paying silly commissions where the customer's friend buys a car 2 weeks later for less than we've sold it to them for, because that would ruin the integrity of the whole process. We also do not offer finance ourselves. So if that client was to come back to us, which often they do because they love the experience, we ensure that the broker who referred that to us is received the client again. And if anyone comes from that by way of referral, so friends, family, work colleagues or whatnot, we will find out who referred them and make sure that we ask the client if they'd like to go back to the original broker that looked after their friend. So we're always trying to make sure the circle of life continues for the broker.
Which is important. You don't want them coming back and then send them going elsewhere or handling with finance, and that's obviously all part and parcel of what we do. Is the customer retains or the broker retains that client, and so they keep coming back for more. And it's all about that experience. If the customer has a great experience, and then it actually helps with the broker's retention, which we find that works really well. So, what do you see the advantages of dealing with a broker?
So I actually see huge advantages for customers to deal with brokers. The connection that brokers have with their clients to be outstanding. If I was a broker, I'd be really fearful of, a vehicle sourcing company looking after my precious client. So we treat them like absolute gold because we know that you do. Brokers know so much about their customer. They're not sitting in an office where they've just bought a car and they've just come in fresh. They've normally worked with them on other things as well. Quite often, it might be other assets in their business, lines of credit and whatnot. The other advantage that I tend to find with the brokers is, I think, the fact that you've got so many lenders available to you. And I don't do finance, and I'm not going to try and step outside my zone, but I've seen scenarios where customers have been able to get loans or been able to attract different styles of loans because of the vast array of the brokers, of the lenders that you have available, as opposed to dealers where they've normally got that manufacturer's finance arm. So brokers would understand more about the advantage of having so many of them, but I quite often see it with the customers, whether it be, that they've got limited financials or whatever it might be. So I think brokers have a real advantage in that. And also, customers don't tend to fear talking to a broker. In fact, they quite like it because the broker is on their side. So I see this situation where you've got someone, in your corner for finance, someone in your corner to help find the car, creates these amazing outcomes that really should be what happens when you buy a car. And that's what we really want to do, is create happy customers, not just enjoy an experience, but rave about their broker, rave about the sourcing that was supplied by the broker, and really look forward to the experience when they buy their next car.
Where do you see the car market going, or the relationship between brokers, dealerships, car sourcing, the car market itself, from your experience and what you've seen happen and what you've seen happening now? Obviously, there's a lot more manufacturers in the country, a lot more electric stuff coming in, unproven, I guess, to an extent. Where do you see the next 2, 3, 5, 10 years going from, let's say, a market point of view, from a manufacturer point of view, and then how brokers and dealerships and car sourcing is involved with that?
So in terms of where the market is going, it's amazing how the market share of Toyota just seems to be so consistent, and I can't see that really changing. They are just at the forefront of everything in terms of the Australian market. And naturally, you've got the other big manufacturers around them, Ford, obviously, Kia, Hyundai. I think they're going to continue to stay strong. There's the small part of the market that's made up in the electric space now, which I think is about 7 or 8%. I may not be accurate with that, but it's under 10%, I believe, with new cars. And there's so many of them fighting over that little space. It's very difficult to see what's going to happen there. I don't know whether they're going to keep bringing more and more of these to the country, or because there's so many of them and they're fighting for a fairly small space at the moment, is it cost effective? So I can't really answer that. The used car market continues to be really, really strong. In fact, it's almost double in many months, or more than double the new car market. And there's a private to private component that still makes up, I think last month was around a third of all sales. So I don't see those statistics changing too much. The new car market is normally, just above 1 million units every year, and it seems to be really consistent. It's probably just that share and who's fighting for what part of it that's going to change. Naturally, the electric market is growing, but in the used car space, the electric market's tiny. It was under 2% last month from memory. So it's hard to know what's going to happen, but naturally, as we go towards, the net zeros and carbon emission taxes and everything else, there's certainly a shift towards hybrid and electric vehicles. I tend to watch the big manufacturers and see what they're doing, and they're mostly still pushing out hybrid cars and moving towards smaller engines rather than the big V8 diesels. They're slowly moving towards 6 cylinders and I think eventually maybe petrol hybrids or diesel hybrids. Hybrids definitely the space that seems to be thriving at the moment. You've only got to look at the RAV4 Cruiser hybrid and try and get one of those somewhere. It's almost impossible. So I think the market will continue to be driven by the big ones, and they'll determine where it goes in the end.
Thanks, Simon, for joining us today. Really insightful sort of stuff here. So my biggest takeaway probably from the thing would be getting involved in vehicle sourcing. The customer experience and everything else you get from that is probably the front of mind. And when we're going through our service and offering, that customer has to be at the front of mind on what's their experience going to be and are they going to enjoy it? Are they going to come back to you being the referring broker and go, wow, that was amazing. And that's certainly something that's probably resonated with me, is making sure you are giving them the best experience, get them involved in it, and make that car buying experience a pleasant one. Like it's an exciting time buying a new car. Most people are buying a car because they want one, not because they need one. So it should be fun and exciting. So we definitely, by using a sourcing agent who has the expertise, making sure they're getting the right car, takes that hassle and haggle out of it, I think is definitely such a worthwhile service and offering. So I really appreciate you joining us today. Thanks everyone else so much for listening. If you have a topic you want us to discuss, please email us at Broker Bulletin at lmg.broker or DM us on Instagram at lmg.broker. If you like this episode, make sure you rate and follow us in your favourite pod store. Thanks everyone, and have a good day.
Thanks for tuning in to Broker Bulletin. We would hate for you to miss an episode. Subscribe to Broker Bulletin in your favourite podcast app. Has this episode been helpful? We'd love you to rate and review us. It'll help us deliver content that's useful to you and help others discover us. If you have great ideas for topics worth tackling or have burning questions you'd like addressed on an upcoming episode, reach out. Links in the show notes. See you next time.